Oxford from the inside. The good, the bad, but always the truth.
Hi, I'm Megan and welcome to episode 48 of Oxford from the Inside, the good, the bad, but always the truth. Today we're joined by Anna and Danley. Could you introduce yourselves?
Hi, I'm Anna. I'm a second year physicist at Trinity College.
Hi, I'm Danny. I'm my third year studying maths and computer science at Worcester College.
Welcome. Today we're going to be talking about what it's like to be a woman doing a male-dominated STEM subject. Thank you both so much for joining us. Before we get started, I have briefly looked up the admission statistics. This is an average over the past 3 years. Sorry, it's a total over the past 3 years. In physics, just over 18% of people admitted identified as women. And for maths and computer science, it was 14%. Quite low numbers. The stats don't include non-binary people. So, they're not perfect, but they're not great numbers. So let's get into this. Anna, should we start with you? Just in your day-to-day life, do you notice the gender divide?
Not really, in so much as like it doesn't change the lectures or tutorials particularly, other than in my college all my tutors are male. But like they're really nice people. I guess it only really affects me if I'm doing a problem sheet, say, and I'm struggling with it. Usually I need to ask a guy for help just because there's more guys, and that kind of emphasizes to me like maybe I'm not good at this because I'm a woman. But other than that, not really.
Yeah, so it's kind of, you don't notice it in the way you're treated, but you just kind of maybe feel a bit out of place. Is that fair to say? Yeah. And it's important to know actually that the gender divide isn't just limited to students. As you said, all of your tutors are male, and in STEM subjects there aren't that many female tutors.
Although we have had an encouraging amount of female professors lecturing us, so that's been good.
That's really nice, yeah. Danley, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I'd probably echo a very similar sentiment. I think in day-to-day life, probably not so much, especially with the college system, where it's pretty much, I'd say, 50-50 split. And that's really nice to have that kind of community of people from different backgrounds, different genders, different subjects. But definitely within maths and computer science itself, you do sort of notice it a little bit. I think maths is probably better. I'm not sure of the exact stats, but I guess maybe 40% female, whereas computer science, it's much more noticeable, I'd say. And yeah, as Anna was saying, I think also the distribution in tutors, most of them are male in these STEM subjects, which again, it doesn't change how they treat you. They still respect you and tutor you the same subject as everyone else. But I think there is potentially a sort of a lack of role models for females, which, just kind of adds to that confidence and environment.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, would you say, were you expecting it when you arrived at Oxford, or was it quite alarming? Like, oh, there are no women here. Danley, would you like to start?
Yeah, sure. So I went to an all-girls school, and so I suppose I never really noticed the whole gender divide because there was no divide, right? And again, most of the teachers were male in STEM subjects, so I suppose that was slightly noticeable. I think coming to Oxford, I did know that STEM is very heavily male-dominated, as you read on the stats reports, and I suppose in general life as well. That's still true of people in academia and industry. So that was maybe a little bit nerve-wracking at the start, but I think once you get here, you see that people are just normal. They're very welcoming and happy to help. All my guy friends are fantastic, and all my girlfriends are really fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. And Anna, how did you feel?
So a similar experience. I went to a state school, but there were girls and boys there. But in my physics class, my maths class, my further maths class, there were more girls than boys. So arriving at uni, I was just like, where have all the girls gone? This is so strange. But after that initial kind of shock walking into the lecture theatre, like there are no girls here. It's all right. Like everyone's really nice. It doesn't really affect day-to-day life, as you said.
Yeah, definitely agree, because quite a similar experience for me. I went to a mixed school, And, in maths and sciences or whatever, the classes are pretty equally distributed. And so you kind of know that probably not going to be as many girls here as I'm used to, but it is an initial shock. But yeah, everyone is, you never feel any judgment for it. And you never made to feel out of place because of that. Everyone is really, really lovely.
Oh, actually, also in my interviews, I was really surprised because there were 14 of us interviewing for physics at Trinity, of which 3 were girls, and I hadn't expected that. So that was kind of like, okay, there is a gender divide in uni compared to school.
Yeah, that's a good point. I must have been a little bit alarming to show up at interviews to go, why am I like one of the only girls here?
Yeah, sort of like statistically, my odds of getting in here are lower.
Did that make the interview a bit harder for you, do you think? You were just kind of aware of that, or could you put it past you?
A little bit, kind of to start with, when you're like, oh, maybe there isn't kind of a space for me here. But the interviews themselves were just as scary as interviews are, and not any different because I'm a girl.
Yeah, I can imagine it's a pretty general feeling. Interviews are terrifying, unifying feeling. Danley, did you notice that when you showed up for interviews as well?
Yeah, it was a very similar experience actually. So Worcester is probably one of the bigger maths colleges. I think we take around 14 for maths and joint schools every year.
Wow.
So then there was like a big meeting, I remember, in interviews, and I think there were around like 70 people in the room or something. And it was just like, these odds do not look good. And it was very, very male dominated. So yeah, that was definitely quite intimidating at the start. But I think the only thing you really can do is kind of back yourself, because no one else is gonna kind of push you to do that. You've kind of got to try and fight these kind of thoughts of like, oh, maybe I'm not good enough, or maybe these guys are all so much smarter than me. And you are, right? Yeah, you're no different to these people.
Yeah, it's a really important point to make. You have been invited to an Oxford interview, or if you progress beyond that, you've been given an offer. They don't give offers to people they don't believe in. They don't interview people they don't believe in. So you kind of have to just be telling yourself, it doesn't matter that I might be one of the only girls here because they believe in me and they want me to succeed. Oxford want you to do the best that you can. Your tutors want you to do the best you can. So you do have to back yourself.
Yeah, it's a really good point, because they won't interview you if they don't think you've got a chance. They wouldn't waste your time or their time.
Yeah, it's a waste of your time, it's a waste of their time. They wouldn't do it otherwise, definitely. And just to stray a little bit, people talk a lot about imposter syndrome, which is kind of that feeling of, I'm a fraud, why am I here, I'm not good enough to be here. And it is, it can be more prevalent if you're a woman surrounded by other men in a male dominated field. And Danny, to begin with, how do you kind of deal with that?
Yeah, it's a really good point. I think it's probably something that affects everyone to some extent, which I think that was something that really helped me when I was kind of having these sort of feelings, is thinking, well, maybe I'm thinking like this, but then so is everyone else. If you try and think about it from their perspective, everyone's sort of in the same boat. And I know it does affect people to different lengths and different degrees, because obviously everyone's different, coming from different backgrounds as well. But yeah, I think the more kind of maths and kind of STEM things that you do, the more you get involved and push yourself, the more you gain confidence in these areas as well. So I know it's very, very tough to kind of try and push yourself, even when you are feeling like you're not good enough. But I suppose perseverance and trying to think about the fact that everyone is in the same boat to some extent.
Yeah, definitely. It's scary, but you got to take that initial leap. And yeah, definitely. Anna, would you agree with that, or?
Yeah, definitely. I think it definitely helped me that whenever I was feeling like that, and it's quite often like if I'm doing a question and I can't get the answer right, it's because I don't belong here. But then like talking to other people, they just go, oh yeah, me too. And it's like, oh, okay, well, I'm not the only one. Everyone feels like this. I don't think there's many people who like truly believe that they are an Oxford student and they like deserve to be there 100%. Everyone has doubts. But we do all deserve to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone deserves. There are so many people who deserve to be here and don't make it, right? So if you are here, and if you have been given an offer and you have been given an interview, you deserve it 100%.
And yeah, I think Anna makes a really good point in the sense that it is really hard.
Yeah,
Just how to put
everyone's
it.
struggling. Yeah, absolutely.
And I
one's-
think oh sorry.
Yeah.
Just Danle, you said about gaining experience in like fields where there's not many girls. It did definitely help me in year 12, I think. I went on a Women in Maths weekend at Cambridge,
cool.
and that really, really helped me to feel like, you know, there is a space for women in these subjects. And yeah, it's helped.
Absolutely. And so kind of talking more about that support and that pushing, what support is available, whether that's department, college, the university in general. Anna, do you want to talk a bit about that?
So on a department level, for me, there's the Oxford Women in Physics Society, which is obviously only for physicists, but that's a really nice space. Just kind of for the fact that we're here, we do exist, and they have like film nights and things, which is nice. Then in terms of college, I guess there's not sort of structured support for women in male-dominated subjects, but there's just lots of support for if you're struggling with anything. There's the wellbeing advisor at our college, and I'm sure there's similar at different colleges. And then friends are always supportive with whatever you're struggling with.
Definitely. Danle, would you agree with that?
Yeah, and it makes a really good point on the women in subject X societies. So like for maths, there's one, and then also for computer science, there's one. And that's actually a really nice way to meet people from different colleges and different year groups as well. So I feel like perhaps there is sort of like a college bubble. So it's quite nice to meet some people from other year groups. And also if they're older, then they can give you advice. And if they're younger, then you can sort of help them out with problem sheets or tips on which courses to take. So with the Women in Maths Society, they run like a Sip and Soul event every week where you just kind of get together, get some free food, free drinks, just have a chat or work on problem sheets if you feel like it, which is really, really nice. And then in the Women in Computer Science department, the society, not the department. Yeah, they run kind of social events every term or so. And I ended up going to a hackathon with the Women in Computer Science Society as well, which was really, really cool. Just 24 hours coding with some girls. And that was, really good fun. And yeah, in terms of the department, so those are kind of the big societies that you have. And then your tutors are already supportive as well. I think just the tutorial system means that you have access to kind of a very personal teaching system, especially in your first 2 years where it's mostly tutorials, and you have that person you can kind of go to and say like, I'm struggling with this, or can I ask you a question extra about this topic or something. So that's a really good support system. And yeah, just the general kind of college environment. I think definitely a lot of mathematicians at Worcester have been helping each other out, and I don't think I would have got through the degree without their help, to be honest with you. So yeah, lots of support.
Definitely, it's so important, particularly if you feel like you are a minority in the subject, to kind of find that support group. And as you're both saying, these societies, these Women in Physics or Women in Computer Science, are a really great way of just finding people who can support you. And do you think there's any kind of specialist careers advice? Because as you were mentioning earlier, sometimes finding the role models is kind of what's stopping you.
I think I did read somewhere that women are perhaps less likely to apply for roles that they don't feel completely qualified for, compared to their male counterparts, which I suppose the best advice I'd say is just go for it. Like, what's the worst that can happen? You get rejected, fine, like, you don't lose anything, but you have a lot potentially to gain, right? And I think, yeah, it's obviously tough if you go into a male dominated industry where you don't have a lot of female role models, especially at kind of top levels, managerial CEO types. But again, like, perhaps, yeah, it's obviously a massive confidence thing, but maybe you could think in the way that I'm going to do this and I'm going to be the female role model for the people that come after me. So I'm not just doing it for myself, I'm helping out, people that are going to come in the future and try and change things up a bit, perhaps.
That's a really great way of putting it, actually, yeah. If you can't find the role models, you've got to make them yourself. Yeah, definitely. Anna, anything to add?
Yeah, I guess in that way, like by applying, by giving it a go, you are improving the statistics for women. You are kind of paving the way. So it's always good to try.
Absolutely. Always worth a shot.
Yes.
And in that vein, what kind of advice would you give someone who's thinking of applying to Oxford for one of these male-dominated STEM subjects? Danne?
I'd say just go for it. Honestly, you don't have anything to lose. If you enjoy your subject, you want to study it, you want to study with good people around you, then just give it a try. That's what you can do at the end of the day, right? Try your best. If you love your subject, then what's the worst that's going to happen?
Yeah, definitely. Anna?
Yeah, very similar, just that it's all about your subject. If you like your subject and want to study that at uni, then Oxford is one of the best places you can do that, whether it's a male dominated subject or not. Just give it a go. And I would also suggest like applying to taster days and residentials and things like that to check that you do enjoy your subject and to see there is like a place for you there and that it's something you enjoy.
Yeah, it's definitely, obviously, it's an Oxford degree is quite a lot of work if you don't enjoy your subject, right? So obviously make sure that you love it. But I hope we'd all agree that it's always going to be worth it.
Yeah.
Mm.
Just you learn so much, even if you don't get in, you learn a lot about yourself and a lot about how to make similar applications in the future.
Yeah.
I was just going to add that I think a lot of the times it is people kind of stopping themselves when they do have the potential to be good. And then, you get these thoughts of imposter syndrome and maybe I'm not good enough, I'm not going to give it a shot, but actually you are. And if you're the one stopping yourself, then you're kind of limiting your options, right? If you're applying and you get rejected, or if someone kind of says no, then that's someone else stopping you, right? But you don't want to be the one limiting your own options.
That's a great point, definitely. And when you were applying, is there any advice you think would have been nice to hear? What did you want to hear? What could have helped you? Anna?
Well, I guess from a slightly more negative perspective, I would have appreciated knowing just how tough the workload is. Like there's definitely, I think from state schools, there's sort of a push of like, if you can try and get in, just go for it. Like there's not an element of, is it the uni for you, to think about that. It's just like, if you can, go for it. So it's definitely worth giving it a go, but consider that the terms are very short, and because of that it's more concentrated than at other unis.
And I guess that just makes it even more important that you find that support.
Yeah,
definitely. Danne, have you got anything you would have wanted to hear?
Yeah, I think I agree with Anna, to be honest with you. I think it would have been nice to know how intense Oxford is, with only 8-week terms. And the last 2 weeks I've had exams postponed from the summer as well. So we've only really got like 6 or 7 weeks to fit in an 8-week term, which is short enough as it is. So it's very busy. But I think I like the intensity of it all. There's always something going on, whether that be in your subject or societies, social events. But yeah, I do think you've really got to think about if it's a place that you want to be, because you've really got to love your subject. I see a lot of people, I talk to them applying to Oxford and they're like, yeah, I really want to go to Oxford or Cambridge. It looks fantastic, it's so prestigious. And I'm like, okay, cool, what subject do you want to study? And they're like, I don't really know, just want to go to Oxford. And I'm like, well, I don't think you're going to enjoy it here if you don't enjoy your subject, because it does take up a lot of your free time. You've really got to be doing it for the right reasons, not for just prestige or image.
100%. It's a lot of work, and you really don't want to be stuck here for 3 or 4 years doing a subject you hate just because you wanted to get into Oxford.
Because these are really important years of your life, right? I mean,
yeah,
most people don't go to uni multiple times, so it's kind of a big decision to make. You want to be going somewhere that's right for you.
I would add though that when I look like an Oxford person, and there really isn't. There's so many different types of people here. There's the people that just get it straight away and don't have to work hard at all, and there's people who don't do anything other than work, and there's all sorts of people in between. So that you don't have to be a specific type of person to get in. That's not something they're looking for. It's just your enjoyment of your subject and ability in it.
I know we've spoken a lot about how hard and intense it is, but there is a really good support system.
Yeah.
In terms of like the facilities, the tutors you have access to, especially being in college, I think makes it quite easy if you've got like halls cooking your meals for you if you want them, or it's so easy to go to the library, the college gyms. I mean, not now, but there are really good facilities here that support you very well for studying.
And the disability advisory service is really good at making sure you have equal opportunities at your subject, no matter what your requirements are for that. So I found that really helpful.
Yeah, really important point to make. And a lot of colleges also have within the JCR, which I've done an episode on if anyone wants some more information. The JCR, a lot of them tend to have a disabilities representative as well. So that's another really important point of contact. If you need some support, you need some adjustments made, and you don't know where to go, they're a really, really useful contact.
Mm.
And obviously the student union has a disabilities rep, and they advocate for general change within the university. Would you say it's just as important to find the support group, maybe in other societies outside of your subject and outside of your college? Has that made quite an impact for you? Anna, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I think that's definitely helpful. A point Danley kind of made earlier is in your college, there's lots of different little groups of people from different subjects. So in that regard, that's a really nice support system of people who aren't like intensely focused on your subject. They've all got their own things going on, but you're all kind of going through the shared experience of the Oxford workload. But also it's really nice to join sports societies, things like that, to have time off where you're not worrying about work or things like that.
Definitely, yeah. Danley?
Yeah, I completely agree with what Anna said. As long as you kind of take some time to do things that you enjoy, hang out with people that are nice, then you can kind of really have natural support groups, I suppose. Just, your friends, you have a chat about something if you're feeling sad, and being open and vulnerable with people, I think definitely really helps. And I suppose maybe also try not to compare yourself to other people, because everyone does come from a different background, a different education, family. And there are some people at Oxford who do come from very privileged backgrounds, and not just in terms of wealth, but in the CS and maths departments, I know there are some people who come from like elite, like maths Olympiad prep schools in Eastern Europe, where they board for like 10 years and they just focus on maths Olympiads their entire lives. And yeah, I mean, if I come from a very average state school, if you've got like 5 years of mathematical maturity on me, then I'm probably not going to be able to claw that back in 3-4 years of doing a degree here. But you can't compare yourself to different people because you all come from different places. It's just about pushing yourself to be the best version that you can be and make the most of these opportunities there.
Yeah, that's really important to say. It's very easy, maybe particularly in a place like Oxford, where it can feel competitive because you're kind of suddenly thrown in, you've got everyone here is incredibly intelligent, and it's very easy to compare yourself. But you just have to, as you said, you just have to do the best that you can and improve yourself as much as you can, rather than judging yourself against what other people are doing. Sorry to put you on the spot a little bit here, but just out of interest, for those people listening or watching who might be thinking of their futures, do you guys know what you'd like to do in the future as a career, or moving on from Oxford? Danley?
Yeah, so I actually I've done a couple of internships. So in my first year, I did sort of a software engineering type coding one, and that was really good fun. I really enjoyed the kind of the problem solving side of things, but I think I wanted something perhaps a little bit more sociable where you weren't just coding all day. So then this summer I interned at a bank, and so I'll be joining them full time next year after I graduate this year. And it's sort of like a trading role, which again is a very male dominated industry, right? But it looks really exciting. It's something that I'm very interested by. And I think it lines up quite well with the whole maths and computer science side of things. They do a lot of like techie numbers in the markets. Perhaps not the most moral of industries. But I think especially as a young person, it does give you a lot of good skills and connections and credibility to make an impact. I mean, you've got a long life and career ahead of you, right? you're not just defined by your first job out of university.
Well, congrats.
Thank you. Thank you
Anna,
very much.
have you got any idea? I know you're in second year, but have you got any plans?
Not at all. I'm hoping, because Oxford has a really good internship scheme in the small holidays in winter and Easter, and also over the big summer holidays. So I'm hoping to kind of take advantage of that this year. Last year I struggled, so I didn't really have a chance to pursue things like that. Although I have really enjoyed helping with ambassador work. So you can be an ambassador for your college, your subject, your uni, and that helps promote Oxford to people from disadvantaged backgrounds and stuff. So I found that really satisfying, but I'm not sure if that's like, I don't know how I could go into that as a career. It doesn't really relate to physics, so I'm not sure what I'll do.
Well, you know, it's a start, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it is important to note, obviously for you, it's completely fine if you don't have a career plan.
Yeah.
Maybe some people apply to Oxford thinking, oh, I've got to have my life planned out. I'm going to do a PhD after, or I'm going to go into trading, or I'm going to do this. But we're all just figuring it out.
Yeah,
No one
and
really
also,
knows what they're doing.
yeah, and like I arrived expecting to kind of find the maths element of physics really hard and enjoy the physicsy element of physics, but it's been the complete opposite. Like you never know what you'll find, like how you'll experience it, so it just depends.
Yeah,
It'll
plans
change
can
very
change.
quickly.
Yeah, even if you had plans, they can be quite different. And just down late, applying for, you said it was quite a male-dominated field. I mean, would you say applying for that is a similar experience in applying for the degree itself, in the way that you kind of have to back yourself to do it?
Yeah, to some extent, I'd say so. I think it's definitely more even in terms of internship splits. So if you apply for an internship, it's you don't really know who you're up against. I think it's pretty 50-50. But then when you look at industries like finance, a lot of the people at the top are very male. And yeah, it's a kind of similar thing, right? There is a lack of female role models, but it is sort of just kind of trying to give it a go, right? What's the worst that can happen if you give it a shot? You don't have regrets about things that you could have done, perhaps, you know.
Yeah, exactly. No regrets. What's that phrase? It's a good phrase. Like be the change you want to see, or something wishy-washy like that. That's kind of the idea, isn't it? You have to forge your own path if there's no one showing you.
And there is progress being made. I mean, you look at like now compared to 5 years ago, even there's a big change.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really important thing to note that while the numbers aren't still great, there are massive steps being made.
And I think as well, like uni and industries, they're not purposefully leaving women out. It's that there aren't very many female role models, so that discourages women from applying, and because there's fewer applying, statistically fewer will get in. So the more women who apply, the more women who get to these places.
Yeah, and sometimes the cases you can see, if you look on the admissions document, it has a percentage of offers given and offers accepted. So sometimes it's that people get the offer and they don't accept it for whatever reason, because they don't feel like they would belong there, or they don't feel like it's right for them. So obviously don't make a choice, don't put yourself in a position you're not going to be happy in. But it's absolutely, as you said, it's really important that people just apply, because otherwise there's no way it's going to get any better.
Yeah.
So that is all we have time for today. Thank you, Anna and Denley, for joining us and sharing your thoughts with us. And obviously, good luck with your degrees and your futures.
Thank you.
We'll need it. Thank you.
And thank you to everyone who's listening or watching this. Remember to follow us on Instagram, and obviously check our Facebook page, all the updates. I will post links to the admission statistics and things in the description, so have a look at those if you're interested. Everyone, I hope you all stay safe, and until next time, bye-bye.
Bye.